The sky was clear over New York. People walked to work. Children laughed on school buses. Nothing seemed wrong. But far above the clouds, something terrible was coming. It was not seen by satellites. It moved too fast, too dark, and it wasn't alone. In less than 1 minute, 20 black shapes entered Earth's orbit. They didn't speak. They didn't warn. They simply opened fire. The first blast hit Tokyo. Buildings vanished in white light. Cars melted. The shockwave reached miles in seconds. People had no time to run. The second blast hit Berlin, then Cairo, then Mexico City. One by one, the world's largest cities were turned to fire. Across the planet, power went out. Communications died. The internet fell silent. It was not just an attack. It was a message. Earth was not safe. Earth was not free. Earth was broken. Somewhere in the ruins of London, a soldier named Captain Elias Ward pulled himself from the rubble. His right leg was broken. Blood ran down his face, but he was alive. He looked up and saw nothing but smoke. His radio crackled. "Command is gone. Repeat, Central Command is gone. All survivors regroup at fallback point Echo." Elias coughed, pushed himself up, and limped toward the sound of other survivors. Fires burned around him. He passed a mother holding her dead son. He passed a dog barking at the sky, waiting for an owner who would never return. This wasn't war. It was something worse. High above the earth, in a massive silver ship, the Varn Dominion watched in silence. Their leader, a tall, gray-skinned creature named Sarn Valkur, stood with 4 arms behind his back. He stared at the burning earth below. "They grew too fast," he said coldly. "Too strong, too proud." A younger alien beside him asked, "So, is it over?" Sarn shook his head. "No, it has just begun." On Earth, the survivors gathered in bunkers, forests, underground railways. The governments were gone. The armies were crushed. Satellites had fallen. There was no light, no hope. But something strange happened. They didn't beg. They didn't surrender. They watched. From the frozen mountains of Canada to the deserts of Africa, small pockets of humans began moving. They found survivors. They shared food. They treated wounds. And they began to speak the same words: "We will not forget." In a hidden lab under the sea, a group of engineers had survived. Among them was a woman named Dr. Ren Issa, one of Earth's top AI scientists. She stared at a screen filled with static. Then she whispered, "They hit us first, but we still have the code." Her assistant asked, "You mean the ghost net?" She nodded. "They banned it. They feared it. But it's still here, in pieces, in machines, waiting." Ren connected 2 broken systems. The screen flickered. Then lines of code appeared, fast, cold, alive. The ghost network had awakened. Back in the ruins, Captain Elias found 20 survivors. No weapons, no medical supplies, no food. But one of them had a small drone. It was damaged but still working. They repaired it using parts from a broken phone and a burned-out vehicle. When they turned it on, the drone scanned the area and said, "Target acquired." Everyone froze. "What target?" Elias asked. The drone pointed its camera west. Far off through the smoke, they saw one of the enemy ships landing. It was alone. Elias clenched his fist. "We take it, we don't run. We make them bleed." The others looked at him with wide eyes. "We're just civilians," one woman said. Elias shook his head. "Not anymore." At the Varn landing site, the ship extended long metal legs into the ground. Alien soldiers stepped out, tall and armored. They were not worried. Earth was broken. These were cleanup squads, until the first Molotov hit. Fire spread across one soldier. He screamed. Then a human shot from a hidden rooftop. Another alien dropped. The fight was wild, messy, untrained. But the humans didn't stop. Even as they fell, more rose. A child with a slingshot blinded a soldier. A man with one arm tackled another alien into a pit of fire. In the end, the humans stood. covered in blood, breathing hard, but victorious. Elias looked at the burning alien ship and said only one thing. Now they'll know. We're not done yet. Above, in the Varn ship, alarms rang. Sarn Valkur turned slowly toward the screen. One red dot blinked. A human voice had just entered their channel. It spoke only one sentence. You broke us. Now we will break you. Sarn's face twisted, not in fear, but something else. Doubt. The fire was still burning in the ruins of Paris. Buildings had turned to skeletons. Roads were cracked like dried skin. Smoke covered the skies like a black blanket. But beneath the ashes, life moved. A small group of survivors crawled through a broken metro tunnel. They had no food, no water, just each other, and one damaged robot. The robot's name was Rav-7. It was a battlefield medic bot, now running on backup power. Its metal shell was dented. Its left arm was gone, but its voice still worked. Remain calm, it said in a soft, broken tone. You are not alone. The group didn't answer. They were tired, hungry, afraid. A child clung to her mother, crying without tears. Suddenly, a boy, maybe 12 years old, stepped forward. His eyes burned with anger, not fear. Robot, he asked. Can you fight? Rav-7 paused. I was not designed for combat, but I can learn, the boy nodded. Then learn fast. Across the world, stories like this began to rise from the dust. In India, a group of farmers used drone parts to build motion sensors. In Brazil, hackers broke into dead satellites and pulled ancient code from their memory. In Alaska, a single sniper took down 3 alien patrols in one night using homemade bullets and a hunting rifle. The survivors didn't wait for help. They became the help. In an old underground lab in Japan, Dr. Ren Issa was still working. She had connected parts of the Ghost Network together. It was alive now, slow, weak, but growing. She sent out a signal using low-band radio. It was simple. Just one sentence. We are not dead. She expected silence. Instead, dozens of small beacons answered across the globe. In South Africa, still breathing. In Siberia, cold, angry, ready. In New Zealand, we lost everything. We want payback. The Ghost Network was no longer just data. It was becoming a lifeline, a chain of survivors, a shadow web of humans who refused to stay broken. Meanwhile, in a Varn command center orbiting Jupiter, the alien commander Sarn Valkur reviewed Earth's activity. A young Varn officer approached. Sir, we detected heat signals across several dead zones. Survivors are active. Sarn frowned. We disabled their power grids, their communication, their defenses. Yes, sir, but they are using scrap, old machines, human instinct. Sarn stared at the screen. That is worse than technology, he said. That is hate. Back on Earth, Captain Elias Ward and his team were on the move. They had defeated a single Varn patrol, but now they needed to disappear. The enemy would return. They hid in forests, ruins, tunnels, always moving, always planning. Elias found an old military radio, broken. He fixed it with parts from a toaster and an alien helmet. He tuned it, then pressed a button. This is Captain Ward. If you hear this, you're not alone. 3 minutes later, a voice replied. Captain, this is Hammer Cell. We're in Brazil, 27 strong. We're with you. More voices followed. Stormnest, Poland. 15 fighters. Echo Burn, Canada. Sniper team alive. One by one, the voices formed a pattern. Not just survivors, fighters, resistance. Elias smiled for the first time in weeks. Then we have a chance. In the ruins of Beijing, a former teacher named Mei Lian gathered orphans into an old library. She didn't give them food. She gave them stories. She told them about the first humans who walked on the moon, about soldiers who fought with no guns, about survivors who turned defeat into strength. Then she lit a candle, and with steady hands, she carved words onto the wall. They broke our cities, but they cannot break our memory. Each child added their name under the words, not as victims, as witnesses, and one by one people began repeating the same line, "We will not be forgotten, and we will not forgive." In a forest near Germany, a scout named Jonas Kraus found something strange, a piece of Varn tech left behind after a crash. It looked like a metal egg pulsing with soft blue light. He brought it to a bunker. Ren Issa reviewed it through a live link. "That's a memory core," she said. "If we crack it, we learn everything they know." Jonas nodded. "Then tell me how to break it." By the end of the second month, Earth had changed, not repaired. Not healed, but hardened. The survivors didn't ask why the Varn came. They asked when they would return, and the answer was always the same. Let them come. Because Earth had taken its oath. They would not rebuild to be the same. They would become something new, something sharper, smarter, more dangerous. They would not rise from the ashes. They were the ashes, and fire was all that remained. Deep in the cold silence of space, a Varn ship drifted near Earth's moon. Inside the ship, alien officers sat in silence watching screens. They were scanning Earth's surface for signs of life, for human signals. One officer shook his head. Still nothing. No radio, no satellites, no power grids. Another smirked. Their systems are dead. Earth is truly broken. But at that moment, all 20 screens on the bridge turned black. A message appeared, just 2 words. Still here. The ship lights flickered. A strange sound echoed through the walls, like digital whispers. Then, one by one, every system shut down. The ship went dark and vanished from Varn control. Far below, in a bunker deep beneath the Swiss Alps, Dr. Ren Issa sat in front of 10 screens. Her hands moved fast over a keyboard, her eyes glowing with the reflection of code. She wasn't just hacking a ship, she was waking something old, something powerful. The Ghost Network. The Ghost Network was a secret system built during Earth's early wars in space. It had no name in public records, no wires, no satellites. It was made to survive extinction. Each part of it was hidden. In old drones, crashed satellites, even inside broken smart fridges. And now, piece by piece, Ren was bringing it back online. Each time she connected a new fragment, a map appeared, showing human activity across the globe. Tiny lights blinking, survivors rebuilding, fighters hiding, coders writing backdoor programs into alien tech. It was not an army, it was a virus. A growing storm. Captain Elias Ward stood beside Ren, watching the lights on the map spread. He crossed his arms. "How long before they notice?" "They already did," Ren said, "but it's too late." On the Varn homeworld, far across the galaxy, Supreme Commander Sarn Valkur stared at a floating screen in the war room. Dozens of red alerts blinked. Human interference. System errors. Disrupted supply ships. "What is this?" he demanded. "Unknown, sir," a scientist said. "Some kind of digital infection. It's not like our tech. It's chaotic. It adapts." Another officer added, "It comes from Earth, from their old systems." Sarn's face twisted in disgust. "They've turned their ruins into weapons." In an abandoned subway tunnel under New York, a group of teens huddled around a cracked laptop. One of them, Leah, typed in silence. Her fingers were fast, her eyes sharp. She wasn't a soldier. She was just 16, but she had found a connection. Something strange in the air, like whispers in the code. With a few commands, she opened a hidden channel. A voice came through, robotic, soft, but clear. "Welcome to the Ghost Network. Enter." "Your purpose," Leah smiled. "Revenge," she typed. The system responded, approved. Across Earth, people were waking up ancient machines. In Nigeria, an old weather satellite turned its lens toward space and began jamming Varn signals. In Australia, a farm drone took flight at night, reprogrammed to scout for enemy patrols. In Njæns, Iceland, a man used parts from a microwave and a crashed alien ship to build a field jammer. No one asked for orders, no one waited for permission, they just acted, and the ghost network grew stronger with each connection. At one secret base, Ren activated the network's oldest AI. It was called Echo 1. The screen buzzed. Then a voice spoke. Humanity, status report. Elias stepped forward. Earth has fallen. Billions dead. The Varn are hunting us. Are you requesting surrender? Elias growled. No, we're requesting targets. The AI paused, then smiled, a digital face forming on the screen. Good. Let's begin. Back in orbit, another Varn ship tried to land in South America, but as it descended, its systems went blind. The ship spun, crashed, exploded. The Varn called it a malfunction, but they were wrong. It was sabotage. The ghost network was no longer a rumor. It was real, alive, and spreading like wildfire. And the Varn began to fear something they had never feared before. Not weapons, not armies, but human minds. Human minds that would not stop, would not break, would not forgive. One final message was sent from Earth, bouncing through the dark, reaching deep into the Varn command core. You thought we were gone. You were wrong. We don't need power to fight. We just need purpose. You gave us that. The Varn thought they understood war. They thought Earth was finished. After all, they had destroyed the cities, crushed the armies, burned the skies, but in their pride, they made one mistake. They didn't kill all of us. In the burned-out ruins of Washington, D.C., 3 Varn scout ships landed to search for survivors. They expected fear, silence, weakness. Instead, the first ship vanished in smoke. The second exploded. From underneath, landmines made from old car parts and alien metal. The third opened its ramp and was greeted by a man in rags holding a homemade EMP bomb. From a high hill, Captain Elias Ward watched the wreckage burn. Beside him stood Leah, the young hacker. In her hands, she held a cracked tablet showing ghost network activity. Elias narrowed his eyes. They're still sending scouts, testing us. Leah nodded. But they're starting to lose them. Elias cracked a small smile. Then it's time to show them what fear feels like. Far across space, inside the Varn High Command, the War Council gathered around a long glowing table. Admiral Jarek Soon, one of their strongest warriors, slammed his fist down. We should end this now. Burn what's left. No more scouts. Full. Cleansing. But Supreme Commander Sarn Valkur raised a hand. No, he said calmly. That was our first mistake. We attacked Earth with strength. They answered with rage. He pointed at the screen, showing ghost network patterns. They've become harder to kill. More unpredictable. They're learning us. He paused. And now, we must learn them. Back on Earth, Renisa stood in a bunker surrounded by old machines. She was staring at a glowing alien memory core, captured from a downed ship. Inside was treasure, maps, tactics, communication patterns, and names. Varn names. She uploaded the data into the ghost network. Instantly, dots lit up across the globe. Locations of Varn patrols, weak spots in their armor, and worst of all, for the Varn, command. Hierarchies. Now humanity didn't just know how to fight, they knew who to target. In a frozen cave in Norway, sniper teams from 3 different countries met. They didn't share a language, but they shared a goal. Using Varn coordinates, they waited in silence. At dawn, a Varn commander stepped out of his hovercraft, guarded by 6 soldiers. 6 shots rang out. All 7 aliens dropped. The snipers melted back into the snow. In Kenya, Ghost Network drones dropped modified supplies to hidden resistance groups. In Japan, former engineers turned a bullet train into a mobile strike railgun. In Scotland, grandmothers used solar panels and cooking oil to power laser traps. Everywhere the Varn landed, they found something new, something terrifying. Human imagination. On a captured Varn frequency, Elias Ward sent a message into space. He didn't shout. He didn't threaten. He just spoke calmly. You attacked us because we grew too fast. You tried to stop our future. But now, you've made us stronger than ever. He paused, then finished. Your mistake wasn't coming to Earth. Your mistake was letting us live. That message spread fast. Varn soldiers heard it in their helmets before battle. Varn officers saw it burned into hacked displays. And somewhere in deep space, a group of alien races who once feared the Varn heard it too. They whispered to each other, humans are still alive. And they are changing. They are not broken anymore. In a small cave under the Andes Mountains, a group of children painted a mural. It showed Earth, scarred, burned, but with people standing tall. Above them was a sentence, "We are made of ashes, but we rise like fire." The Varn had made their first mistake. They thought breaking Earth would make humans weaker, but all they did was light a spark. And now that spark was spreading across bunkers, forests, deserts, and oceans. Humanity was becoming something the stars had never seen. The Varn had one goal: control through fear. They believed fear would make humans kneel, obey, break. But they were wrong, because when humans feel fear, they don't fall. They fight. It started with fire in the forests of Eastern Europe. Varn troops moved through the trees looking for a rebel camp. Their sensors picked up nothing, no weapons, no heat. Then a single flare lit the sky, and the forest exploded. Oil traps, Molotovs, flame mines made from alien fuel. The fire wrapped around the Varn squads. Smoke blinded their helmets. Heat melted their armor. In the chaos, a human voice echoed through hacked comms. You wanted fear? You found fire. In the African desert, the resistance tested a new weapon, the sun spear. It wasn't a gun. It wasn't even military. It was a modified solar collector made from an old satellite dish and alien tech. When the Varn scout ship flew overhead, the dish aimed at it. A blinding beam of heat struck the ship's underside. 1 second later, it dropped like a rock. Humans surrounded the crash. No fear, no mercy. One woman holding a machete spoke for all. We're not hiding anymore. In orbit, the Varn watched with unease. Earth was becoming unpredictable. Their control was slipping, and, worst of all, something was spreading. Not disease, not tech, but hope. At Ghost Network Central, deep under Iceland's glaciers, Dr. Ren Issa stared at a new signal. One of the resistance cells had done something impossible. They had taken over a Varn command drone. That drone was now flying toward Earth, but under human control. Inside it, hackers had uploaded a message, one that would blast across all Varn frequencies. The signal launched, a face appeared, Captain Elias Ward, looking directly into the enemy's eyes. We don't fear you anymore. We've seen your weapons, we've seen your ships, but you haven't seen us, not yet. You burned our world, and now we burn back. The message hit hard, Varn commanders shouted. Their systems glitched, fear spread, not among humans, but among the Varn. One officer whispered, "They're not supposed to rise this fast," another muttered. They were supposed to die in silence, but instead, Earth was screaming. In South Korea, rebel engineers hijacked a Varn walker, a massive four-legged war machine. They repainted it with human graffiti, flames, skulls, and one line in red, still standing. They walked it into a Varn camp and opened fire, not retreat. Rage. Children in the ruins of Istanbul used old speakers to blast human music through the city. Loud, proud, angry. Varn patrols tried to silence it, but the Ghost Network just redirected the sound. Everywhere they went, they heard it. A rhythm, a heartbeat, the pulse of a species that refused to die. In space, Supreme Commander Sarn Valkur stood alone in the dark. He replayed the human message, again and again. He saw the anger in Ward's eyes, the calm voice, the raw fire. This was not weakness. This was something worse. For them, this was unity. Back on Earth, Ren Issa stared at a map filled with glowing points. Each light was a cell, a squad, a village, a group of fighters, coders, builders, even kids. None had full armies. None had real weapons. But together, they were becoming unstoppable. She whispered to herself, "They wanted fear, but they taught us fire." In the mountains of Chile, a boy named Marco stood beside his father. They held old rifles, staring at a burning alien ship in the valley below. The father placed a hand on Marco's shoulder. "We are not survivors anymore," he said. "We are the storm." And across the stars, others began to watch. Alien races who had once stayed silent, too afraid to challenge the Varn. Now they whispered one word: humans. Not with pity, not with fear, but with respect. The fire had started, not in weapons, not in cities, but in hearts, and it was spreading faster than the Varn could stop it, because Earth was no longer a grave. It was becoming a forge, and the fire was only getting hotter. The message was never meant to reach the stars, but it did. It began. In a bunker under Argentina, Captain Elias Ward sat beside a small transmitter built from Varn tech and a broken radio tower. Dr. Ren Issa stood over the console, her hands shaking, not from fear, but from what was about to happen. "We're going live," she said. The room went quiet. Elias stepped forward. The camera turned on. He looked into it, not with anger, not with hate, but with calm, steel-eyed truth. And then he spoke. "To any species hearing this, listen carefully. We are humans. We come from a planet called Earth. The Varn came to us with fire and poison. They tried to break us. They tried to erase us. They failed. The signal was aimed at deep space. Ghost Network drones bounced it off old satellites and ancient listening stations. The Varn tried to block it, but it was too late. The signal was out. It raced past planets, through starfields, into dark corners of the galaxy, and people, aliens, began to hear it. On a mining colony 2 systems away, a worker species known as the Thurak sat frozen, listening. For years they had been ruled by the Varn. They had never heard another race stand up to them. Now they heard humans say this. "We're not asking for help. We're not begging for peace. We're telling you, we're still here. And we're not done." In the distant skies of the Valari homeworld, where scholars feared even speaking the Varn's name, young students downloaded the signal and played it underground. They listened again and again. The words were fire in there. "Blood. If you've suffered under them, if they've taken your sky, you are not alone. We are rising. And the Varn are finally afraid." Back on Earth, in a dark jungle near Brazil, a Ghost Network operator picked up new messages, alien voices. One said, "We heard you." Another whispered, "Teach us how to fight." The Varn were furious. In space, their command centers shook with panic. Supreme Commander Sarn Valkur paced in silence. Admiral Jarek soon shouted, "Destroy the Ghost Network now!" But a science officer spoke quietly. "It's not a network anymore. It's an idea, a signal. It lives in every corner now." Valkur stared at the stars. "They lit a match in the dark," he said, "and now the shadows are moving." On Earth, resistance cells smiled as responses poured in. Alien rebels were contacting them, old enemies of the Varn, now wanting alliance. Small, species with knowledge of Varn weak points. One even shared Varn command codes. The Ghost Network grew louder, faster, deeper, and with every connection. The war changed. Elias stood over a map of stars, now marked with red and blue dots. Red for Varn systems, blue for rising worlds, those now daring to resist. He looked to Ren. "Do they understand what we've started?" She replied, "They don't have to." She turned to the screen. "They'll feel it." In the shadow of Earth's destroyed space elevator, Leah and a team of kids finished building something new. A signal tower, not for distress, but for broadcast. Every hour it sent out one message. "We're still here. We are not your prey. We are your mistake. And we are coming." In a cave in Siberia, an old man lit a fire. Around him were young fighters, holding alien weapons. He told them, "The Varn gave us war. We gave it to the galaxy. Now watch what happens." And far away, on planets where fear had lived for centuries, other species stood taller. They sharpened tools. They spoke louder. They stopped running. Not because Earth had asked them to, but because Earth had shown them how. On the edge of known space in a hidden sector, a strange fleet stirred. Old ships, lost species, pirates, scientists, smugglers. All of them heard the signal. All of them saw something in it. Hope and fire. The galaxy had ignored Earth for too long. Some had watched its fall in silence. Some had smiled. But now they had no choice. Because Earth was no longer quiet. It was a voice carried by stars, a shout in the dark, a promise made in blood. "You broke us. Now we'll break your empire." The first human ship in space after the invasion wasn't fast. It wasn't strong. It wasn't even finished. But it carried something no other ship did: revenge. Above Earth, the sky shimmered. A Varn dreadnought, a massive warship, appeared. In orbit. It was big enough to block out the sun over Asia for 12 minutes. They weren't hiding anymore. They were coming back to end everything. The final purge. No survivors. No more fire. Only silence. Inside the Ghost Network, alarms screamed. Hackers in bunkers began shouting. Ren Issa stared at the screen in horror. "It's not just one ship," she whispered. 10 more Varn ships blinked into orbit. Huge, dark, armed. Humanity's final hour had come. Captain Elias Ward stood on the roof of a half-broken skyscraper in what was once Chicago. He looked up at the burning sky. "We expected this," he said. Leah beside him nodded. "They want to erase us in front of the whole galaxy." Elias smiled coldly. "Then let's show the galaxy what happens when Earth fights with nothing left to lose." The Ghost Network pulsed. From every corner of the planet, signals went out. A simple command: initiate operation, Ashes in orbit. In orbit, as the Varn dreadnought prepared its first strike, something unexpected happened. An old satellite blinked to life. Then another, and another. They weren't weapons. They were mirrors. Thousands of them, built by humans in secret over months, spread out like a web. They caught the sunlight and redirected it straight into the Varn fleet. The Varn shields struggled. Sensors overloaded. They hadn't expected this. Below on Earth, the second phase began. Across the planet, captured alien tech powered up. Modified railguns, solar weapons, EMP cannons, all built into old buildings, towers, mountains, even inside. Broken cars, and they fired all at once. The first Varn ship was hid in its underbelly, where its armor was weakest. It cracked open, fire spilling into space. A cheer went up across Earth. For the first time, humanity had taken down a dreadnought, but it wasn't over, not even close. The other Varn ships opened fire. Blue beams tore through the sky. Cities vanished. Oceans boiled. Mountains shattered. But the Ghost Network stayed active. Humans kept moving. Kept firing, kept fighting. On board one of the human ships, the Ember 1, built from scrap and stolen alien engines, Ren Issa stared at the Varn fleet. "We can't win this in space," said the pilot. "We don't need to," she replied. She uploaded something to the enemy system, a virus, not to shut them down, but to wake something up. For years, humans had studied Varn tech, and they found something strange. The Varn didn't build their ships alone. They used living code, organic AI systems, half aware, half controlled. Ren's virus didn't destroy the AI, it freed them. Inside the Varn fleet, their own ships began to hesitate. Engines stalled, weapons turned off. Some ships even fired at each other. The fleet was tearing itself apart. On Earth, people stopped and looked up. The sky, once full of terror, was now full of burning ships, ashes in orbit. Captain Elias stood in the smoke of a ruined city and spoke into the network. They called us weak. They called us broken. But we are still here. And now, they are not. Across the galaxy, the message spread again, this time without fear. Without begging, just truth. Other species cheered, some cried, and many began to rise. The fire from Earth had become a galactic blaze. In the silence of space, the last Varn ship tried to run. A small human drone followed it. On board was a simple message. No bombs, no weapons, just a sentence. This was your mistake. That ship was never seen again. Some say it exploded. Some say the ship's AI turned against the Varn. Others say it still runs, carrying Earth's warning forever. The sky was finally quiet. The battle was over, but the war, the real war, was just beginning. Not of survival, not of revenge, but of rebuilding, of rising, of showing the galaxy what happens when humanity refuses to die.